Hi, everybody. I'm Drake Eaton,
I'm Christina Benson.
and today we're going to be talking about what you should be doing over the summer to prepare for your upcoming consulting recruiting process, whether it's for a full time position or for an internship.
So, just a little bit of background. Again, my name is Christina Benson. I am a senior in LS&A studying international studies. I also have a minor in business through the Ross School of Business. Professionally, I've worked in both consulting and in strategic marketing in the past. As a junior, I interned with PwC in management consulting in New York, and I'll be returning there full time next year. Prior to that, I also interned with Milestone Media, which was a strategic marketing firm.
And again, my name is Drake Eaton. I'm also a senior in LSA, just finished up today with a BA in economics and a minor in entrepreneurship. Last summer, I interned with Davis and Hosfield Consulting in Chicago in litigation consulting, which was kind of a variation of consulting, which we can talk about a little bit later in the presentation. And I will be going full time at Accenture Detroit in August. So today we're really going to provide a brief overview of what exactly consulting is, talk you through the recruiting process and what to expect, then talk about the case interview and interview preparation in general. Then we'll talk about next steps. This will give you a lot of opportunity to understand what you should be doing over the summer to best prepare for this recruiting process. So a question that we often get from students is, what is consulting? This is a really tough question to answer because there is no direct answer. But essentially, consulting is problem solving. Consulting firms are hired to conduct research on, for example, how to save a company money, how to implement a new strategy. Then a solution is proposed and implementation takes place.
So, there are three main areas of consulting that we wanted to touch upon briefly called strategy, management, and technology. I'm sure some of you have heard of this before, and sometimes it's a little bit tough to distinguish between the three of them. So, we just wanted to give you a quick rundown about them a little bit more. So, strategy consulting usually refers to very high level work, usually where companies bring in consultants to address new business problems. Management consulting is a little bit more concerned with the implementation side. So, oftentimes, you'll find management consultants helping a company implement new ideas that perhaps some strategy consultants have proposed in the past. Technology consulting is kind of like management in that it focuses on the implementation side of a project. However, it's a lot more focused on implementing tech systems and tech solutions for clients.
So within these three types of consulting, there's human capital, operations, implementation, and many other subcategories. For example, litigation consulting is a subcategory that doesn't really fall into the management strategy or technology role, but at the same time, it could technically be considered consulting. So keep that in mind when you're searching through potential companies to apply to.
So, there are a lot of very large consulting firms that many of you have probably heard of before, and a lot of these firms actually come and recruit on Michigan's campus. So, the big three consulting firms, which are McKinsey, BCG, and Bain, are known as the frontrunners for strategy consulting. They are very competitive firms and are probably the first place a lot of companies look to for consulting work. The big four firms are Deloitte, PwC, EY, and KPMG. In the past, these four firms have been known for their accounting services, but have very recently transitioned into an advisory and consulting space. So you'll find a lot of management and technology consulting opportunities at these four firms. They've really done a great job of kind of spearheading the management consulting implementation idea. You'll also find some similar work at firms like Accenture, Strategy and IBM. Strategy is the strategy consulting arm of PwC, and Accenture is an independent firm that's very well known for their technology work. IBM is also a very large firm known for tech work as well.
So another question we often get is, what types of GPA requirements are necessary for consulting? This is something that is kind of tough to answer up front because it largely depends on your major and your other experiences. However, we've seen that a 3.5 cumulative GPA is about the minimum that you should be hitting for the larger firms. This isn't a hard and true rule and can be really subjective, but keep in mind that this is about the GPA that students are going to be applying with on the lower end. For the big three, as mentioned before, Bain, BCG, and McKinsey, these are highly competitive firms that you should really have a 3.8 cumulative GPA before applying to. However, your GPA isn't the only thing that matters for consulting recruiting. It's also really important that you have a unique and compelling story and relevant work experience. Even if you had an internship outside the realm of consulting, you can still really apply anything that you learned to consulting due to the nature of what consulting is and just being problem solving in general. So let's take a look at the recruiting process. In the springtime, right now, it's really important that you all learn about what's required for the consulting role. In this way, you can start setting yourself up for the networking and casing component that comes in the summertime. During the summer, you should be reaching out to 3 to 5 people per company that you're interested in so that you can establish a rapport with current workers and learn about which company you would be most interested in. Moreover, case preparation is a critical aspect of recruiting preparation. Without preparing for the case interview, you'll be stuck in your tracks when recruiting comes around in the fall time. And in the fall, it is a large time commitment, so it's important to have prepared well during the summertime so that you feel ready to tackle recruiting.
So obviously consulting recruiting is a very heavy time commitment, and we wanted to provide you with a quick visualization of what that might look like. We often recommend that you focus on maybe reducing your course load this particular semester just to make room for all of these various recruiting activities that you'll need to take part in. As you can see by this schedule on the screen, you'll need to budget your time per day to make room for networking calls, doing case prep, as well as going to company information sessions. You'll often have to go to various pre-interview events as well when you receive interview slots, and you'll also have to make room for those interviews as well.
So as we mentioned before, there are 3 very important steps that you can take to prepare for the consulting recruiting in the upcoming fall. The first thing is in the early summer, it's crucial that you expand your network. In this way, you'll want to set up informational phone calls with current employees at consulting firms that you're interested in. You want both quality and quantity to these calls because it won't be very effective if you just do a lot and don't really connect with the people you're chatting with. Moreover, you can search LinkedIn, UCAN, and cold email people in order to set up opportunities for these informational phone calls. Throughout the summer, you want to take note of what you're accomplishing in your internship or your study abroad experience so that you know exactly what to put on your resume so you can talk about those things with the people you're interviewing with. You want to highlight teamwork, problem solving, and leadership because they're 3 characteristics of consulting that are really important. And lastly, don't take the behavioral interview lightly. Make sure that you're engaging in mock interviews that discuss behavioral questions over the summer so that you're prepared for the recruiting process. And throughout the summer, you also want to practice your interview. You can start by reading case interview books and resources in May. Again, we'll chat more about these at a later slide, but some case books that are really good are Case in Point by Mark Cosentino and Case Interview Secrets by Victor Chang. Practice makes perfect, and you want to make sure that you're doing enough cases to be comfortable for the upcoming recruiting process. And lastly, finding case buddies and mentors in the city that you're in for the summer can really give you the opportunity to practice with a friend and make it more of a joint effort. So now we'll talk a little bit more about networking and how to effectively go about it. Networking is really important for consulting, but a lot of people don't know how to do it. So we'll chat about some tips and tricks for how to get that done and also provide some resources that'll help you network.
So like Drake mentioned, networking is absolutely crucial for you to land a first round consulting interview. Why? Well, a lot of people coming from various large companies looking for interns or full-time consultants are looking for very personable, outgoing people. Those personality traits shine through while you're networking with these recruiters. One thing you should also consider as if you're coming from a non-business background, is that networking is extra crucial for you in order to be able to communicate with these recruiters. So obviously going about networking can sometimes be a little bit overwhelming, so we've compiled here a quick little guide to go about networking during recruiting season. So there are two primary online resources that we'd like to recommend. The first is obviously LinkedIn, which is a great resource for you to find actual recruiters that may be on campus or might be good people for you to reach out to for a cold email or a cold phone call. The University Career Center also has a resource called UCAN, which is pretty much just like LinkedIn, except it takes into account only Michigan students and connects you with Michigan alum from a variety of different companies. Another important aspect of networking is cold emailing and cold calling. Oftentimes, doing some research on LinkedIn or UCAN is a first step before you move ahead to this step. So you can use research from online networking to go about sending emails and cold calls to individuals that you might want to have a quick informational interview with. Make sure when you're doing this that you're ensuring that you use proper etiquette when you reach out to any individual from Michigan or not. Another area to consider is on-campus networking events. Networking hours and career fairs host companies on the UM campus, and you can often check the Career Center website for postings. If you have any questions about any of this, always feel free to consult our Career Center resources.
So now we'll talk a little bit about the actual case itself. The case interview is one of the most daunting things seen by people going through the recruiting process, but by following very prescribed steps, it doesn't need to be. So today we'll talk about what is a case, what the case interviewers are measuring, where you should all start in the preparation process, and what the structure of a case is. So here's a quote from a partner at Bain & Company describing what a case is. The case interview is an example of a real business problem based on your interviewer's past work experiences. Now, this is a really interesting key part of the actual case itself because your interviewer has already engaged in this actual project. Because of this, it offers a unique opportunity to have a dialogue on the problem so that they can guide you well through the case and also critique your thinking style. The problems you will encounter are not designed to be brain teasers or theoretical problems designed to stump you, but rather to reflect the challenges that our clients face. So what exactly is your case interviewer measuring? Well, first and foremost, they're looking to see if you can have structured thinking. This requires the ability to break a larger problem into smaller pieces and identify what questions you need to ask to develop certain pieces of data that you'll need to solve the problem. Moreover, they're testing your analytical abilities. You need to be able to ask questions to develop certain pieces of data and be able to manipulate that data. In this case, they're looking to see if you're comfortable with these calculations and seeing if you can make correct decisions based on math in front of the case interviewer. Moreover, they're judging your business instincts. This requires asking correct questions, challenging assumptions, and thinking outside the box. Thinking outside the box is the most important aspect of the case because the cases are often given to many interviewees. In order to stick out, coming up with unique insights is imperative. And lastly, they're measuring your poise. You need to be both personable and professional because consulting is the business of people. You need to be able to show that in a client setting, you'd be able to interact in a very confident and controlled way. Even if you get part of the case wrong, it's important to be able to bounce back and show your level of poise very quickly.
So one question we frequently get here at the Career Center is how many cases do you need to do until you're prepared? Well, unfortunately, there's no real actual answer to that because it varies. For reference, Drake and I both did about 30 to 50 cases. I did right around 30, and Drake did probably a little bit over 50 cases during his recruiting experience. So it really has to do with what your comfort level is and how you feel in terms of your confidence level as well. So really quickly, we want to run you through what a structure of a case kind of looks like, so you know moving into your practice. So the first part of a case interview starts out with an opening or prompt, where the interviewer reads you an actual prompt and poses a problem for you. During this reading of the prompt, you'll want to take careful notes and repeat the case back to your interviewer in different words. At this point in time, you might want to ask some clarifying questions and make sure that if there are any other objectives that they want you to focus on. The second part of the case is where you develop your framework. A framework for you is essentially a map that will help you run through the actual case and reach a conclusion. At this point in time, you'll ask the interviewer for a little bit of time to form your framework. This is where you consider what kind of information you need to actually solve this problem. Then you'll structure your thoughts about that into separate buckets using a result-oriented approach. The third part of a case interview is the case analysis, and this is the largest and most important part of the case interview. This is where you actually run through that framework you've created and reach a conclusion by doing some analysis work with your interviewer. You'll want to follow your framework and prioritize particular questions that are most important for you to have answered. As you run through your framework, you'll want to explain your reasoning for your questions as you ask them to your interviewer. This is essentially where you are walking your interviewer through your process. The final portion of the interview is the conclusion, where you actually directly answer the question with your proposal. You'll want to provide 2 to 3 supporting reasons to support your idea, and you'll also want to discuss some risks and next steps to show that you've thought about the whole problem very comprehensively. You can think of the conclusion as kind of like an elevator pitch to the CEO or the client.
So to get a good understanding of what types of cases you'll be seeing, it's really important to read a lot because they can vary heavily. So here's one example that we made up. Guy Fieri just moved to NYC and is trying to decide if it makes more sense to get on the new fad of high-end pizza joints with imported artisanal cheese and wood-burning ovens, or open a more traditional pizza place called NYPD. Which type of pizza restaurant will be more profitable? So at this point, you'd want to break your analysis into 2 directions. The first is that you want to understand how profitable the high-end pizza place will be versus the lower-end pizza place. Some ways to look at this is you could ask about the real estate costs for the high end versus the low end, because obviously the high end pizza place would be in a more high end area with more expensive real estate. You could also ask for the unit cost and the unit price per pizza, and then other products that you'd be selling to determine what the overall profitability would be. Here's another example. Size the e-commerce grocery market and its growth over the next 5 years. And another, which makes more money in any given week, Skeeps or Rick's? Now this is seen as more of a back of the envelope case that you'll have to ask for more information as you go, but it's safe to say that you could break down the relative size of Skeeps versus Rick's, what nights people go to each bar, and so on. And lastly, here's another example. There are 3 toll bridges in a coastal town, and 2 of the 3 are extremely profitable at $150 million per year in revenue with very few costs. The third bridge has experienced declining profits over the past 5 years. How should we increase profitability? So hopefully these examples provide a decent picture into what kinds of things you could be expecting during the case interview process.
So a few places to start. First option would be some case books. As Drake mentioned earlier, the 2 recommended books we have for you are Case in Point by Mark Cosentino and Case Interview Secrets by Victor Cheng. Both of these books are great, but they have a little bit of a different layout. So in Case in Point, you'll find that it's a little bit more visual and step-by-step, and Case Interview Secrets is a little bit more of a narrative. I personally read both of these books, but relied more on Victor Cheng in my own studies and practice. In terms of going about practicing, you'll want to try to pick a few major case partners over the summer and during the fall semester to case consistently with. You should also look to find a mentor that has successfully gone through the consulting recruiting process. That can be a friend, someone in a student org of yours, etc. You'll also want to try to consult some online resources. Consulting firm websites often have video cases or have written resources for you to consult with to prepare for individual interviews. If you purchase the Victor Cheng book, Case Interview Secrets, you'll also be able to unlock some really helpful online resources, caseinterview.com and caseinterviewmath.com. On caseinterview.com, you'll find a variety of video cases. You'll also find instructions on how to best write a cover letter or resume for a consulting job. And on caseinterviewmath.com, you can kind of freshen up on some of the key math skills you'll need to solve cases. In terms of finding case partners, we know that can be a little bit tricky. You can try to do that through recruiting, talking to current employees via phone, or you can also look into case workshops at the UCC in the fall. We'll also try to pair you off with some case partners as you come in as well.
Thanks, Christina and Drake, for sharing your expertise. The staff of the University Career Center hope you're feeling ready to jump into your case study preparation. Take advantage of summertime to make sure you're ready to go when you get back to campus in the fall. If you haven't yet, make sure you've joined the University Career Center's consulting track through your Handshake profile to stay up to date. Also, save the date for the University Career Center's Consulting and Finance Career Fair, which will be on September 7th from 11 to 3. Check your Handshake profile for more details. Good luck this summer and go Blue!